121. Zeus and Apollo. Zeus and Apollo were competing at archery. When Apollo took up his bow and let fly his arrows, Zeus took a stride forward, covering the same distance as Apollo's arrow. Similarly, by struggling with rivals stronger than ourselves whom we cannot possibly overtake, we expose ourselves to mockery. 122. Zeus and the snake. When Zeus got married, all the animals brought him presents, each according to his means. The snake crawled up to him, a rose in his mouth. Upon seeing him, Zeus said, "From all the others I accept these gifts, but from your mouth I absolutely refuse one." This fable shows that you should fear the favors of the wicked. 123. Zeus and the jar of good things. Zeus shut up all good things in a huge wine jar, which he left in the hands of a man. This man was curious and wanted to know what was inside, so he prized open the lid and all the good things blew away, flying up to the gods. Thus, hope alone remains with men and promises them the good things which have fled. 124. Zeus, Prometheus, Athena, and Momos. Zeus made a bull, Prometheus made a man, and Athena made a house. They invited Momos to judge their handiwork. He was so jealous of it that he said that Zeus had made a mistake in not putting the bull's eyes on his horns so that he could see where he was butting. Likewise, Prometheus should have attached man's mind outside his body so that his wicked qualities were not hidden but could be there for all to see. As for Athena, he told her that she should put wheels on her house so that if an undesirable person moved in next door, one could move away easily. Zeus was so enraged by Momos' jealousy that he banished him from Olympus. This fable shows that nothing is too perfect for criticism. 125. Zeus and the Tortoise. Zeus entertained all the animals at his wedding feast. Only the tortoise was absent. Puzzled by his absence, Zeus asked her the next day, "Why alone among the animals did you not attend my wedding feast?" The tortoise replied, "There's no place like home." This aroused the anger of Zeus, and he condemned her to carry her home everywhere on her back. It is thus that many prefer to live simply at home than to eat richly at the tables of others. 126. Zeus the Judge. Once upon a time, Zeus decided that Hermes should inscribe on oyster shells the faults of men and deposit these oyster shells in a little wooden box near him so that he could do justice in each case. But the oyster shells got mixed up together, and some came sooner, others later, to the hands of Zeus for him to pass judgment on them as they deserved. This fable shows that one should not be surprised if wrongdoers and wicked people are not punished sooner after they commit their misdeeds. 127. The Sun and the Frogs. It was summer, and people were celebrating the wedding feast of the sun. All the animals were rejoicing at the event, and only the frogs were left to join in the gaiety. But a protesting frog called out, "Fools! How can you rejoice? The sun dries out all the marshland. If he takes a wife and has a child similar to himself, imagine how much more we would suffer." Plenty of empty-headed people are jubilant about things which they have no cause to celebrate. 128. The Mule. A mule who had grown fat on barley began to get frisky, saying to herself, "My father is a fast-running horse, and I take after him in every way." But one day she was forced to run a race. At the end of the race she looked glum and remembered that her father was really an ass. This fable shows that even if circumstances put a man on show, he ought never to forget his origins, for life is full of uncertainty. 129. Hercules and Athena. Hercules was making his way through a narrow pass when he spotted something on the ground which looked like an apple. He decided to crush it, but the object doubled its size. When he saw this, Hercules stamped on it more violently than before and struck it with his club. The object swelled in volume and became so big that it blocked the road. The hero Hercules then dropped his club and stood there in a state of amazement. As this was going on, Athena appeared before him and said, "Stop, brother. This thing is a spirit of dispute and quarrels. If one leaves it alone, it stays just as it was before, but if you fight it, see how it blows up." This fable shows that combat and strife are the cause of untold harm. 130. Hercules and Pluto. Hercules was admitted to the ranks of the gods and received at the table of Zeus, bowing graciously to each god in turn. Lastly, he came to Pluto, god of wealth, but he lowered his eyes to the floor and turned away from him. Shocked, Zeus asked why, having pleasantly saluted all the gods, he should turn his face away when he got to Pluto. Hercules replied, "It's because when we were together on earth, I nearly always saw him being attracted to wicked men." This fable could also apply to men who are made wealthy by fortune, but who are of bad character. 131. The Demigod. A man had the image of a demigod in his house and offered it rich sacrifices. As he didn't cease spending and using considerable sums for the sacrifices, the demigod appeared before him one night and said, "Stop squandering your wealth, my friend, for if you spend everything and become poor, you'll only take it out on me." Thus, many people, fallen on hard times because of their own folly, lay the blame on the gods. 132. The Tunnyfish and the Dolphin. A tunnyfish was pursued by a dolphin and splashed through the water with a great to-do. It was when the dolphin had almost caught him that the force of the tunnyfish's leap landed him on a sandbar. Carried by the same impulse, the dolphin landed beside him, and there they both lay. As the tunnyfish took his last gasps and faced death, he said, "I no longer dread death, now that I see he who has caused it sharing the same fate." This fable shows that it is easier to tolerate our misfortune when it is shared by those who have caused it. 133. The Quack Doctor. A quack doctor once treated a sick man. All the other doctors he had consulted had told him that his life was not in any danger, but that his recovery would be slow. Only the quack doctor advised him to settle all his affairs, because he would not survive much more than a day, and then he left him to it. A few days later, the sick man got up and ventured outside. He was pale and walked with difficulty. He chanced to meet the quack doctor, who said to him, "How are the inhabitants of the underworld getting on?" The sick man replied, "They are at peace, because they have drunk the waters of Lethe. But recently there has been a great fuss down there. Both Death and Hades have issued terrible threats against all doctors, claiming that they won't allow the sick to die naturally, and they have written all their names down on a register. They were going to add your name to the list, but I threw myself at their feet and implored them not to, swearing that you are not a real doctor and had been unjustly accused of being one for no reason." This particular fable pillories those doctors whose science and talent consists solely of plausible words. 134. The Doctor and the Sick Man. A doctor had been looking after a patient, but the man died. And the doctor said to the dead man's household, "This man would not be dead if he had abstained from wine and had taken his enemas." "Ha, my dear friend," said one of the servants, "it's no good saying that now when it's useless. It was when he was still alive and could benefit that you should have given him that advice." This fable shows that our friends should come to our aid at times of need and not make clever remarks when things are desperate. 135. The Kite and the Snake. A kite swooped down and carried off a snake, but the snake twisted round and bit the bird. So the two of them then hurtled down from a great height, and the kite was killed by the fall. The snake declaimed, "Why were you so stupid as to harm me, who had done nothing against you? It serves you right to be punished for having carried me off." People who give in to jealousy and hurt those who are weaker than themselves could fall into the same trap. They pay the price when all the harm they have done is unexpectedly revealed. 136. The Kite Who Neighed. The kite once had a different voice, a voice which was high-pitched and shrill. But one day he heard a horse neighing beautifully, and he longed to imitate it. Try as he might, he simply couldn't attain the same voice as the horse, and at the same time he lost his own. This is why he has neither his own voice nor that of the horse. Jealous people envy qualities which they don't possess and lose their own. 137. The Birdcatcher and the Asp. A birdcatcher took his snare and birdlime and went out to do some hunting. He spotted a thrush on a tall tree and decided to try and catch it. So, having arranged his sticky twigs one on top of the other, he concentrated his attention upwards. While he was gazing thus, he did not see that he had trodden on a sleeping asp, which turned on him and bit him. The fowler, knowing that he was mortally wounded, said to himself, "How unfortunate I am! I wanted to catch my prey, and I did not see that I myself would become death's prey." This is how, when we plot against our fellow creatures, we are the first to fall into calamity. 138. The Old Horse. An old horse had been sold to a miller to turn the millstone. When he was harnessed to the mill wheel, he groaned and exclaimed, "From the turn of the racecourse I am reduced to such a turn as this." Don't be too proud of youthful strength, for many a man's old age is spent in hard work. 139. The Horse, the Ox, the Dog, and the Man. When Zeus made man, he only gave him a short lifespan. But man, making use of his intelligence, made a house and lived in it when the winter came on. Then one day it became fiercely cold. It poured with rain, and the horse could no longer endure it. So he galloped up to the man's house and asked if he could take shelter with him. But the man said that he could only shelter there on one condition, and that was that the horse would give him a portion of the years of his life. The horse gave him some willingly. A short time later, the ox also appeared. He too could not bear the bad weather any more. The man said the same thing to him, that he wouldn't give him shelter unless the ox gave him a certain number of his own years. The ox gave him some and was allowed to go in. Finally, the dog, dying of cold, also appeared, and upon surrendering part of the time he had left to live, was given shelter. Thus it resulted that for that portion of time originally allotted them by Zeus, men are pure and good. When they reach the years gained from the horse, they are glorious and proud. When they reach the years of the ox, they are willing to accept a discipline. But when they reach the dog years, they become grumbling and irritable. One could apply this fable to surly old men. 140. The Horse and the Groom. A groom used to steal his horse's barley and sell it. To make up for it, he spent the whole day grooming and currying the horse, who said to him, "If you really want to see me look good, don't sell the barley that is intended to feed me." Thus, Greedy people trick poor people with their seductive talk and with flattery while depriving them of their bare necessities.